How do you feel about comic book movie trailers and their effects on comic book prices? I feel like when it comes to comic book speculation that there's this holdover effect from something we saw a couple of years ago, and it's kind of a diminishing thing. Depending on the movie, or the TV show in some cases, before it's even ever released, there's usually a court of public opinion about that movie. And in this particular episode of Top 5 Not to Buy, we're going to be talking about some books and how they've been affected by the Craven trailer. More on that in a second. Hi, I'm Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd. This is my top 5 comic books not to buy list. And in this list, I take a look at the Key Collector Trending 20, CBSI Hot 10, and COVRPRICE Top 10, and I pick my 5 favorite worst picks for investment, essentially. I also follow up on all these prices 6 months and 1 year later. In those videos, I do in-depth price analysis where we look at all kinds of sold transactions from the time I made the video compared to what it ended up selling for in the future. I feel like my batting average is pretty good on those videos, so if you're interested in that kind of material, I recommend going and checking out one of those videos. With that said, let's get to the top 5, and coming in at number 5, we have Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 116. This is the first full appearance of the Foreigner, who is rumored to appear in Craven. And to be honest, we've even gone past rumor because Christopher Abbott has already been cast to play this person according to Deadline. Now, here's the thing. And I'm just going to talk through this for a minute, and this will apply to a book later on in the list as well. Does Craven really warrant comic book speculation? Now look, Craven, I'm a big believer that the movie's not out yet, and we can't really judge it in its entirety. But that does not stop the comic book collecting world from judging the trailer. Every time I can think of that a trailer has been deemed as being bad or poor for an upcoming movie project based on a comic book or a TV project, the book never takes off. The comic books associated with that never take off. Think about The Flash, think about Ant-Man 3, the list goes on. Thor Love and Thunder, once that movie came out, all the gore books tanked, for example. We're just seeing this steady decline that if people do not like the movie trailer and people are saying this looks terrible or it looks awful, then we see a decline in the particular comic books associated. And that is happening more and more with these projects. It's, things are becoming more divisive. If a trailer is perceived as too woke, then a certain segment of the comic collecting community is going to hate it and hate everything associated with it. If a comic is perceived as being too corny or it has the wrong casting or whatever, it doesn't match the tone or the original of the comic book, or it's not based closely enough on the source material, or in the case of Craven, if it appears to be a shoehorn story where we're taking Craven out of the world that everybody finds him interesting in and shoving him into a new cinematic shared universe, a la The Mummy starring Tom Cruise, which came out a few years ago and was also awful. This looks like that. Now, hear me loud and clear. This could be an amazing movie. It could have, nonstop action-packed sequences. We could absolutely end up loving this movie as a comic book fandom. That's possible, but I don't think it's likely at this point. My personal opinion, I think the trailer looks like trash, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I watched it. That's just my personal opinion, and I have a feeling that a lot of other people probably feel the same way, and that's why I can't get behind the idea of backing this book, because a character is going to appear in this movie from this comic book that pretty much no one's ever cared about. Now, if we got Silver Sable, that would be more interesting, but it's the Foreigner. I'm sorry if that seems overly negative or pessimistic, but I just can't support this kind of spec anymore when it's based on going after a book that's based on a trailer that pretty much everyone seemed to laugh at. Because if you're asking me, it looks like that lion grew up near a power plant and has radioactive blood, and that's how he gets his powers or something. It looks really derivative. I would have way rather seen like potions or just have him be just, a peak human being or whatever instead of enhanced by animal powers specific to blood transfer. Anyways, that's enough about the trailer. I just don't think this is a good spec because of it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. At number 4, we have Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man number 100. And this is a spot cover. It kind of comes in a trilogy of spot appearances. And I just don't think it's as good of a cover as 99 is. As it happens, I don't really think 99 is great spec, but I do think it's a great cover. So then we have this one, which is a weaker cover, so I don't know, unless 99 starts to take off, which again, I didn't think it will. It appeared on a previous list. I really don't think this one will. And a reminder that neither of these are his first appearance. Number 3 comes to us from Key Collector. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 25, the 1:25 ratio variant by John Romita Jr. Modern John Romita Jr. art is definitely something that people either seem to love or hate. And frankly, a lot of people tend to hate on it a little bit more. Now, this is a classic AF-15 homage, but come on, we've seen that a million times. Couple that with, having this issue not be a major key, and I'm out. At the number 2 spot, we have World Tree, number 3, the 1 in 100 Martin Simmons cover. So Martin Simmons is obviously the person who did the Department of Truth covers. He's back for this cover with World Tree, and it's a Department of Truth homage. I absolutely love Ben Stein's write-up on this one over on the CBSI Hot 10, because he's talking about how no one cares about the original title, but now we care about the homage to that. It's just, that's a little weird. And to be fair, yeah, Department of Truth has really cooled down. It was a hot book for a good while, and it is completely ice cold right now. I'm gonna throw in a disclaimer there. To me, they just seem ice cold. I haven't seen anybody care about Department of Truth comic books. I've had a few for sale on a couple auctions, and no one really seemed to care that much about them, with the exception of one or two readers. And yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where it's at. I feel like there were a ton of exclusives, a ton of covers, and I think it maybe kind of fatigued people out. Now, where it gets interesting is if we do get a Department of Truth, TV series or something like that adapted for television, then I could see some of these covers start to heat up. But with no news looming anywhere in the near future for that we can know about, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, that could be something that almost is inevitable. I think that's a concept that's going to translate to a TV show, or some network's going to buy it. But that's probably going to take, what, a year, 3 years, 5 years before we get some kind of announcement of it coming. So I think you definitely have time to let this book cool back down and pick it up if you really believe in it for investment purposes, or if you just love the cover. And this brings us to ASM 209, which lands at number 1 on the top 5 not to buy list this week. And this is the first appearance of Calypso. And Ariana DeBose is scheduled to play Calypso in the new Craven movie. So this goes back to my first book I had on the list, and this kind of all goes back to the fact that I don't think the Craven movie is going to inspire good speculation buys. Now, I will say, out of the two, I would prefer to go after this book versus the other book. For one thing, this is a core ASM title. There are a lot of people out there that collect that run, and this is a key kind of in the early, first half of that run, let's say. So, yeah, this is something that I think people are always going to be somewhat interested in, which means you'll never lose your shirt on this book if you buy it, like right now, what it's going for, what I've seen it going for, because its floor is still relatively high. But I do not believe that this is going to hold value past when Craven comes out. In fact, I think it could tank a little bit, at least for a while, and that would be my ideal dip to buy this. For example, I had a copy of this book that I had been speculating on, and I sold that like 9 months ago. So I don't know, and I sold it for as much as it's going for now. So keep that in mind. If I saw a copy for $5 or $10 in a bin somewhere, of course I'd buy it, but that's not the point of this list. The point of this list is, should you go buy this book for what it's going for at current online FMV, which is that sort of like universal price that everybody is going to go to unless they happen to find a deal at their comic shop. If you find a deal in your comic shop, awesome, more power to you. And speaking of how awesome you are, do consider becoming a channel member like the awesome people that are scrolling by the screen right now. They really help me out with a lot of things on this channel, like having access to some of the programs and some of the software I use for those price lookbacks, and some of the stuff I use to run this channel. Their support means a lot to me, and it makes a difference between being able to make these videos every week and not being able to make these videos every week. Also, this video is going up at, kind of the end of the weekend before the holiday, so I do want to get a chance to say happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day, everybody. I hope everybody has a great celebration and stays safe out there. Until next time, I just want to remind you, as always, hey. Read comics every day.